there may be some gassy burps on this episode, just so you know.
You forgot to file your paperwork again. How long is this one going to be? We don't need the whole 28, though, because we can put part of the hanging grounds. Do you want to walk across the street?
Arlen says
film?
you can do the whole 28:30.
Do you want to go across and film kind of in the daylight so people can get an idea of what it looks like in the daylight?
Do you guys want to add hanging grounds footage in? You guys want to go over there tonight?
I don't have my
But
memory.
I was
I don't
just
have my
saying-
memory cards on me.
I don't have my Sony with me either. It's at the house. If I had it with me, we could do it. I'll scratch up a memory card.
Yeah, I don't have one on me. So if you want to, we can.
Go over and do a little introduction with a little bit of daylight.
Yeah. Or we could just wait till right at dark. It's up to you guys. Actually, probably better with a little bit of light. How much time do you want me to save for that then? You want to take 5 minutes off to do it, or 10 minutes
Let's do like 15 minutes.
15 of each.
Okay.
Because basically all
So,
I'm doing on this
14,
episode is I'm
15.
giving the basics of what the biggest story that happened there.
All right, you got it. I'll track down an SD card. Go ahead.
Let me play with your body, baby. Make you feel hot. Oh. God, that was a lot of food.
Yeah, it was.
Big sandwich.
Shouldn't have ate that burritos though.
So that's our goal, is you and I, no more smoking, and we get rid of these.
Okay, let's do it.
Camera adds like 20 pounds.
Right, I saw that.
I'm doing no
Final
carbs.
set.
Hey, shut your mouth.
Make me.
Fermez la bouche, s'il vous plaît.
She's not here. She left.
Cállate la boca.
I don't know what you said, but it was probably mean. You're not very nice to me.
Das Guten Ba. How about Chinese? Gom legalo chi chai. That means where's my belly button?
Right
Or no,
there.
it means this is my belly button.
Arlen says that sounds dirty.
Gom legalo chi chai.
Damn it, where's Claire when I need her? I hope you know that we are recording right now.
Okay.
That's all right.
You ready?
So,
So I'm going to introduce
Okay.
and talk a little bit. We're going to do hanging grounds.
yep.
Talk a little bit about our interest in bringing to light some of the history of Salem and the hanging grounds, which is located right here in Salem, and that you're going to give us some information.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready? Wait, just a sec. Hang on just a minute. Okay, I'm ready.
Ooh, you blew the microphone off.
This just shot right off. All right. Count us in.
5. Hold on.
Oh, damn it.
What am I holding?
Claire said to save that for the bedroom.
Okay. I'm just making it up because it would be both hands.
Wow, chicka, wow, wow.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to Abnormality. In kind of our motivation for doing this show, I think in the beginning was having the opportunity to take a look at some of the history involved in Salem. And, when you think about it, when you talk about ghost hunting and Salem, Oregon, you don't really, it's not like it's mainstream that people talk about it, and it's
Right.
like something that kind of sticks out. You always hear about, going to Scotland and up in some of the castles, or, Vlad's castle over
Which I
in-
want to do that. Really
Oh,
bad.
that would be awesome. Well, we need a few more sponsors for that, though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of traveling.
Or just one Powerball jackpot.
Yeah, because it would have to be first class, because this body, coach, airplane, yeah, I'm ripping those seats out. So, wanting to stick with, taking a look at some of the historical facts around the paranormal here in Salem. And funny as it is that right across the street, we've got one of those episodes, or one of those places that's significant in as far as paranormal activity, and that's the hanging grounds that's right across the street. And I didn't know this until we met and we started doing this show, and you told me about it, that Actually, right across the street from the studio is the original hanging grounds of Salem, Oregon. And if people aren't realizing what that is, the hanging grounds is where they would take criminals who were convicted, that were sentenced to death. They had gallows set up over there, and they would hang people.
Yep.
And so there's been a lot of reports and things like like voices, talking, different things going on over there. So you're actually going to give us a little bit of background on some of the history of the hanging grounds.
Yeah. So back in 1865 was the first double hanging in Oregon.
Okay.
And it was here in Salem. Mind you, this is where they did the executions, like you said. They had the penitentiary was open, but they didn't do the executions there. That's just where they stored all the criminals, like perishables.
Well, and the perishables. Well, and it makes sense because courthouse is like right here.
Right.
And I hear the courthouse has been there for a long time.
Yeah, it has been.
Okay.
But whenever they would do a hanging at the hanging grounds, it was like a carnival event. There was food vendors, there was clowns, there was people dressed in their Sunday's best to come watch people die.
Which is really kind of sick when you think about it.
I really want to go back to those days.
Seriously, like get a bucket of popcorn,
Kettle corn, and
well,
just
back
watch.
then too, buckets of popcorn and sodas were like $57.
Right.
Probably a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Probably easier.
Yeah, it was better than a theater.
Heck yeah.
So anyways, the story goes, there was two criminals named George Beale and George Baker. It was George Beale actually owned a saloon right here in downtown.
Okay.
Okay. And they were arrested for the murder of Delaney. Daniel Delaney. If you know anything about Salem, you know Delaney Road out south.
Yeah.
His house is still out there.
Okay.
He was very wealthy, very rich. They went out there, they painted their face all black with shoe polish because they didn't want to be seen. And Delaney knew something was up because nobody ever came out to his house. Nobody.
Okay.
I mean, he was one of those loners.
Yeah.
He had a 12-year-old servant boy, and he just said, he's like, I need you to go down in the cellar. Just go hide, whatever. Something's going to happen. Go hide. No matter what happens, stay there until you feel it's comfortable.
Okay.
So the servant boy went down there, and actually, on houses where they've got your foundation grates,
Okay.
he actually stood right there by the foundation grates, saw the men approach, heard an argument, and then heard gunshots. While Beale and Baker actually shot Delaney in between the eyes.
Do we know what it was about?
Money,
Okay.
because Delaney was very wealthy. In fact, we'll go into that towards the end of the. Well, actually, we can do it right now. It's said that there's still $45,000 in gold buried on his property.
Really?
Yeah. Several people have used clairvoyance. They've used all kinds of stuff to try to find it, digging and digging and digging and never finding it.
Wow.
Me personally, as a paranormal investigator, I'm going to look for Delaney because he's going to be guarding it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a good team effort. You look for Delaney, I'll look for the gold.
Right. And if you find Delaney, you're going to find the gold.
Because, I'll give you 30%.
Right? Hey, I'll take it. So anyways, because of the servant boy watching, he was able to identify Beale and Baker.
Okay.
So he went to the cops, told them who did it. They brought him in and arrested him. They tried him, and they were sentenced to death.
Okay.
Death by hanging. Well, it was the first ever, like I said earlier, the first ever double hanging at one time. Usually they would do one hanging, call it good, do another one, whatever. But because of the prominence of Delaney in the area, they hung both at the same time.
Okay.
Well, it was on, let me look here.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. We're talking 1865.
Okay.
March 25th is when they got found guilty. March 25th, 1865 is when the verdict came back that they were guilty of murder in the first degree.
Okay.
May 17th, 1865 is when they were hung.
Okay.
So almost 2 months later, they were finally,
Not like today where you sit on death row for months and years.
40 years.
Yeah.
Even though you're
Forever.
begging, to be killed.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that right now.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1865, there wasn't a lot of crime in the Salem area that was reported, but this one was all over the papers. It was all over everywhere because Delaney was so prominent.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're a household name. Everybody knew who he was.
We're talking like Daniel Delaney is like the governor of Oregon. That's how prominent his name and his family was. And they murdered him. They were found guilty, tried, convicted, and on, like I said, May 17th, 1865, both of them dropped in the gallows. And
which literally is right across the street from where we are now.
we're actually going to, here in a little while, we're going to stand right where the gallows were.
Okay.
So
Go take a look.
you know, for people out there that are watching, you want to go check it out. You know, we'll tell you where the location is. Mind you, it's been made into kind of a park setting now, so you have to kind of use your imagination and think back 150 years ago.
Yeah.
51 years ago
Wow.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I have to ask my dad about it, see if he remembers.
But there was so there was 5 hangings there
Okay.
in total. Some of the reports that people have felt walking there, because there's, you know, state agencies all around here. People walk through there on their lunch break, whatever. There's been women that have reported having their hair pulled. A couple of men pushed to the ground. We used to do walking tours here in the Salem area, and we did a ghost box session one night. And one of the entities, I don't know who it was that was there, they didn't give a name, but they called out my 12-year-old daughter by name.
Oh, wow.
Our tour, one of us was like, "Can you tell us the name of the, you know, little girl standing right here, the younger girl standing right here?" Plain as day, it came back, said Sylvia, and I was like, "All right."
Wow.
Well, then there was another another coworker of mine, sorry, that said, "Can you tell me my name?" And he came back with a 5-letter, not so nice name. I'm not going to say on TV because we're only TV PG.
You can tell me later.
Yeah, starts with a B.
Okay.
And she got pretty offended by that. But
Bridge?
That's 6.
Oh, yeah, that is 6. That was good, though. You were right on that. I practiced the big words. You got that math down.
That's right. But, you know, it was just kind of interesting that back in those days, you know, furthermore, to even think that in the Salem area, we had servants, slaves.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody attributes slaves to the South.
Yeah.
But here, we were a Southern sympathetic state. So,
Different times.
yeah. Did you know that there was actually a Civil War here?
Really?
Riverfront Park?
Yeah, the Ducks and the Beavers, they play every year.
This guy. No, there was actually a battle across the river,
Really?
one side to the other.
That's those West Salem people. They're a little bit off center.
A little
You
bit.
can't really trust them.
No.
It's kind of Salem, but it's not really. It's kind of over there.
Right.
But it's fascinating.
But yeah, no, the hanging grounds, I actually have done a lot of research into it.
Mm-hmm.
You can pull up all the information that we're talking about. Just pull it up via the City of Salem website.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and even though the the hanging grounds are specifically in this spot, I mean, I've done walking history tours of Salem, and you just don't realize, there's buildings downtown that you can go and look at. And they've got that little plaque on the side that says when the building was built.
yeah.
And we've got a lot of long history of 1800s
Yeah.
buildings.
I mean,
They were built. So I mean, we're pretty young when you think of it in terms of the world itself and different places in the world. But there's a lot of history.
there's a lot of history, and a lot of it, you actually, going with what we do as investigators and stuff, you're not going to find it unless
Yeah.
you find the rabbit holes of the internet, because a lot of towns and cities like to sweep it under the rug
Well, sure.
because they don't want that name following them.
Yeah.
But, back in the 1800s, that was a way of life.
Yeah.
Look at what happened on Tombstone. You were found guilty of a crime. You got shot in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like you said, you're sitting in prison for years.
Well, and you think about it, another famous Salem in history. Does anybody remember anything about Salem, Massachusetts, other than the witch hangings and witch trials?
No.
I don't really know much more about it. So I mean, that makes sense that people, don't want to talk about it. And
Which is funny because I actually watched a documentary on that the other day. Unlike the European witch trials, the Salem witch trials were caused by moldy bread.
moldy bread.
Moldy rye bread was causing people to hallucinate. So every one of those, I'm sure there was a couple actual witches,
Yeah.
but most of those were innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know the test that they put them through, right?
I don't know.
They put them in a lake, and if you swam, you're a witch. If you sank, well, you're dead.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess nobody swam back in those days.
That's the kind of test they would do.
Michael Phelps would not have done well.
No, he wouldn't have.
He would have been in bad trouble.
But I mean, that's
So-
just kind of in another funny story about our little Salem. It was actually founded as the twin sister city to Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
So if you start digging into our history and our research, through archives, what are you really going to find?
Yeah.
Because
Hanging grounds is just scratching
Yeah.
the surface.
I mean, you could find the hanging grounds. You could find that there was a couple witches that were burned here.
Really?
Yeah.
We need to go find that spot.
We can't go out there.
Really?
Yeah, they don't.
You can't tell me where it is?
No, I can. It's a church in West Salem. I'll put it that way.
Wow.
They
I'm
don't-
willing to get ordained just so we can go do that church.
It's an active church, and there was a website that put it up as haunted, and they suffered significant amount of vandalism because of it.
Oh, wow.
So now they pay,
Which we've talked about, that
Right.
idiots that go out and ruin it for the rest of us.
and so they pay a Polk County Sheriff deputy 24 hours a day to sit there, and whoever crosses the,
Still?
oh yeah, this was just a couple years ago that they got their
wow.
last bout. But I mean, you're talking, when you start talking about churches and cemeteries that are on site of churches, people vandalizing them, you're talking, it's not cheap to fix.
Yeah.
Granted, most of it is
Jesus.
tax deductible, but
Yeah.
it's just stupid. Why would you do it?
Well, so I'm really hoping, as far as going across to the hunting grounds, we're going to go over there and maybe do a little introduction, and then on the next episode, we're going to actually do some voice work and camera work and see if we can pick anything up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at is, wanting to actually get over there again, because it's been about 3 years since we did that voice box session over there, and it was active.
Okay.
Maybe here 2 weeks from today actually will be the 151st anniversary of their hanging.
Wow.
Maybe we should
Do the investigation that night.
maybe we should
Sounds like an
plan
idea.
that.
Okay.
Because they
so-
say on anniversaries with ghosts is when they're the most active.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Something to think about.
We'll go fishing and we'll see what we catch. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're actually going to be on location and talk a little bit more about the area and what we're going to do.
Yeah, sounds
See you
good.
guys in a few minutes.
All right, cool, and
All right, Big Tony back here with Abnormality. As promised, we are on location, Kent, here in Salem at the hanging grounds that we were just talking about. So as you can see from the area, they've kind of happied it up a little bit.
Yeah, they make it an attractive place now.
You come over here and you got your little fountain, your little lake.
Got your little
and-
ducky sleeping right here.
No, he's not sleeping. He's looking at us like, why are they up in my space? So we are actually standing on location where the hanging ground
Yeah.
was built. So you got to imagine gallows. Now you said 2 guys at once. So were there multiple
It was
spots?
It was the way they used to build it. It was like a we'll say from concrete to here porch with beams, and they would just drop the ropes.
Okay, so the beam was just across. They
Yeah.
would tie the rope onto
Yeah, like
it.
your old school hangings you would see.
Okay.
This is where it happened. I mean,
And you got to use your imagination, because we talked a little bit about how it was kind of a carnival atmosphere.
Yeah.
You had popcorn vendors and you had people standing around, kids probably holding toys, thinking,
Yeah.
and bringing your kids. I can't imagine this day and age bringing my kids to, something like a hanging, seeing where people are getting killed basically.
yeah.
And it was just like this big circus. So I would imagine this water probably wasn't there back then.
Nope.
Probably just all solid ground.
So basically what I mean, I want you guys to picture is all this is just flat ground. There's no water, there's no pretty park setting. There's none of the big buildings around us. It's 1865.
It's like Back to the Future 3 kind of thing.
Yeah. Picture this place just crowded with people around this gallows to watch these 2 men die. I mean, that's the big one, is you're going to watch somebody's life end.
Yeah.
What does that say about us as a society?
Yeah, we kind of started out on the wrong foot.
We did.
And you said 5 total people, but those were the first.
That was the only double hanging.
So
All the other ones were singles.
was it the first hanging, or was there another one here before?
That was the very first.
Okay.
And then it was, I think it was between 1865, which is the double, and I think it was 1868.
Okay.
And then they started moving all the executions to the state pen, which they actually banned hangings
Yeah.
because it was cruel and unusual punishment.
Okay.
And that started because of another case we're going to be working on here in Lafayette. What happened to him, he was actually the last hanging in Oregon.
Really?
Yeah, because usually when you hang, you drop, it breaks your neck. That's, the theory behind it. Well, what happened to him is the knot slipped to his throat, and he actually suffocated for 20 minutes before it actually killed him.
Wow.
And so they titled it Cruel and Unusual Punishment. Then they switched to the gas chamber.
Okay.
And then gas chamber was cruel and unusual. Then they went to Sparky,
Oh yeah.
and now they're just
Which,
doing...
if you've seen, like Green Mile,
Yeah.
when they hooked that guy in the chair and it wasn't done correctly, they just fried that guy over and over. So
Yeah.
I mean, you know, granted, these are people, you're not your cream of society. These are people that have done wrong and are being put to death, but man, that's a terrible way.
And now they're just doing lethal injection, which is, you know, it's you go to sleep.
Pump a syringe and go to sleep and never wake up.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
So, but I mean, you know, this is like a hot spot. You know, if you ever want to just come out here with a voice recorder, come on out. I guarantee you'll pick up something.
Okay.
Because we've done tours here and people have been touched. They've had their hair pulled. They've had their clothes pulled. They've been pushed to the ground.
Yeah.
A lot of the popular spot is over here by these benches. People sitting on the bench, you know, eating their lunch, they'll get pushed over.
Yeah.
And there's nobody there.
Because they ain't sharing their sandwich.
Right.
That makes sense.
The guy's hungry, you know.
He's been there for 151 years without some grub, so he's probably a little bit frustrated. So it's just amazing to think about the history and the area. It's like, you know, and the other thing that I find kind of funny is that there's like the trees just right here. It's like, was this done on purpose? Was there a play into the architecture, the way that the trees are and the way they're hanging over the spot? It's kind of a weird feeling.
But also keep in mind, look at the trees. You can tell that these trees are not 150 years old.
Oh no.
I'd say what, 30, 40 maybe?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that long ago that they actually turned this into this pristine park-like setting.
Well, it's the Band-Aid over the wound of, you know, we talk about the history and them not wanting to share kind of the history of what's happening here.
I don't think, you know, and we love Salem. I love Salem.
Yeah.
But I don't like the fact that when you are trying to do these histories, you know, talks, how much you actually have to dig to do it.
Yeah.
Because they've swept it so far and buried it so far that it's like, oh no, that can't get out.
Yeah.
Crime and punishment was a part of life.
Yeah.
You broke the law, you got punished, bottom line.
Well, and you said it was what, 2 months until they were hanged?
Yeah.
So basically they were found guilty 2 months later. We're down at the park having a big day.
Yeah.
Probably took them that long to advertise.
Probably.
They had to put the flags out, and all
Ringling
the
Brothers.
signs.
Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, carnival
Incredible.
vendors, like I said, juggling acts, people would dress in their Sunday best.
Yeah. That's just amazing to me.
This is my Sunday best, just so y'all know.
Yeah. About as dressed up as we get. All right, so we're going to go ahead and end on that. Next time we come back on location, we'll actually be doing the hunt here at Salem Hanging Grounds with myself, Kent, and whoever else we can get to come out. So until next time, we'll see you on Abnormality.